Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. So I just saw online that today is, I guess, the 21st anniversary of 9/11, and you know, it's just like when I think about it, it's just mind blowing, like how much the country has changed. And I know most of you are younger, or maybe you're not even American, so you don't remember what America used to be like. And this isn't a video about me complaining like, oh, the good old days, wishing for the good old days. It's really not. It's just shock about how much we've changed in such a short time. And like so for me, I grew up. I mean, I've lived in two Americas, which is really weird. I've lived, like in the, I guess I would say pre-Obama, is that's when things really started to change. And I'm not blaming Obama. I'm just saying it's the landmark, because I'm not blaming anybody, because I don't really think it's a bad thing. It's just weird. The pre-Obama America, and the post-Obama America, and then really you have to call pre-Trump and post-Trump, and pre-COVID and post-COVID. The But like when 9/11 happened, I was a senior in high school. I was still 17. Was because obviously it was early in the year. I turned 18 during that school year, and I was in. I guess it was my second period class. I can't remember. Yes, it was second period, but we had block scheduling, so it was later in the day. It was history. It was a history course, and it was near the end of class. It was like, 5 minutes or something, 5 to maybe 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes before the end of class, and so it was be so so what happened is, I don't know why I laughed. It's not funny. The What happened is we're sitting in class and just talking about like history stuff, right? And teachers teaching history stuff. I don't remember exactly what we were doing. Somebody knocks on the door. Teacher goes out to the door to talk to that person. She goes out in the hallway. So we're just talking about other stuff in class. We're just talking about, the teacher's not there, so we're just talking about whatever. Probably I remember I sat next to two guys. We were probably talking about football, but who knows? And then she comes in and says, "Okay, we've been hit with the United States has been hit with a terrorist attack. There's been something," and then she starts explaining what happens, and like we're all like looking around and stuff, and we're like, I think somebody, I don't know if somebody actually said this or I just remember it this way, because I know it was what I was thinking, was like, so wait, did this actually happen, or is this like a classroom, like is this supposed to be like a learning exercise? And then it became clear that it actually happened. And so for most of the day, I mean, that was just for the rest of the day in school. That's all we were doing they weren't even trying to teach. You were even, maybe a little bit. I don't really remember it that well. We were talking about it, talking about what happened, or in class, or in some classes they just had TVs in, that they used, for whatever thing. So they just turned it on and they just watched the news. I know that my brother told me that he was watching the newscast in class, and when one of the buildings actually collapsed, and it was just like um and like the anchor was like, okay, I don't know what we just saw there. It's like, well, I'll tell you what you just saw. You just saw one of the towers collapse. And I had a friend in high school whose brother was I think he still is actually a firefighter in New York City. And that was actually his first day at work. And so he was like, I know that he was in total shock. I had family in New York City, but I had no reason to believe that they were anywhere near the World Trade Center, and they were not. Um, but I know that my crazy aunt did see it. did see the building collapse. I mean, she was. I mean, I guess they were all out staring at, looking at the buildings, and she was. I mean, I know that she was in, absolute disbelief. I mean, when you see it, it's the the craziness, like what seeing it was really surreal. It was the crazy. It's hard looking back on it to understand just how crazy it was. And we didn't know like what was really going on. Like, was this the start of World War III? Because there was no precedent for anything like this in the United States. There was the attack on Pearl Harbor, which I guess was substantively a bigger deal because it got the U.S. into World War II, which ended up to like a lot of American dead. I'm just talking about like and how it affects the American people. But this one, I mean, we were all thinking like, is there going to be nuclear war? Are we all like us guys were thinking, are we going to get drafted? We just didn't know what to expect. But after the initial, I mean, then W. Bush that night made an address and said, we're not going to distinguish between either terrorists or the countries that harbor them. And then either it was like a day later, a week later, I can't remember, where he made a really good speech on top of the rubble, and he said that like he said I hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon. And the country just really rallied, like really clung together, really rallied around, not, I mean, to Bush too, and which was surprising because he was considered by many sort of an illegitimate president, certainly regarded as an idiot. And so the country, but also around the country really rallied around New York. There was talk about like, there was all this like pro New York stuff all of a sudden, and Rudy Giuliani, who was usually generally regarded as an asshole by the rest of the country, was suddenly America's mayor. And no, I mean, people were saying stuff like, I think Giuliani even got up and like made like a speech where he was talking to some firefighter in the hospital, and he said, "Well, you're a tough guy." He said, I told him he was a tough guy, and he said, "Well, what do you expect? I'm a New Yorker." And that actually got like laughs from the audience. Like it was weird. So the country really, I mean, again, if you weren't there, it's hard to describe. The country really came together. It was like amazing, like how much we'd come together. And and again, it wasn't just, we didn't just rally around the country, we rallied around New York City. I remember there was this old message board that, I mean, it wasn't old at the time. It was an official NFL Detroit Lions message board. Okay. And so back then message boards were a bigger thing. There was no social media or anything. And so I'm sorry. So I was there was this guy there who was a fan of the Packers, and Packers fans hate the Lions. And he was, so he normally there he was just trolling, attacking and stuff. And he made a post on the board saying, all the stuff all this football stuff is insignificant. We're all Americans. We all have to like fight this together. And everybody, and this is a guy who had been like just a troll who everybody hated. And everybody, we were all like, I mean, I wasn't saying anything because I didn't actually participate. I just read the board. But we were all, I mean, they were all like saying, yeah, man, dude, we're down. Like, like, let's have a beer or something. So, but yeah, I mean, and then, Hillary and Al Gore and Bill were all saying we got to rally around Bush. And everybody really came together, not just on the political level, but really on the personal level or like the community level. And, you think about it and it just wouldn't happen today. The same thing, like it wouldn't happen at all. Like the thing, like if, let's say there was a major terrorist attack, in New York City or Washington, D.C., like what would happen there? I can think of now, like for half the country, it would be really devastating because they would feel like their country was attacked. For their, we call them Biden voters, but for the Trump voters, um, an attack on New York or DC would there would really be two reactions. One would be, haha, yeah, fuck you, take that New York City, or take that DC. That's the swamp. We hate the swamp, and I mean, honestly, I mean, yeah, I think like an attack on the Pentagon, especially. I mean, you'd have a lot of Trump voters saying like, well, I hope he got some FBI and CIA, when they, but yeah, but the who fuck the woke Pentagon, all that shit. And then the other reaction would just be like, well, sorry for the loss of life, but I don't really feel attacked. It's not my country. They attacked Blue America, not me. And, because back then there was no red and blue America. Like, you had red areas and blue areas and stuff, but we were still like, I think that what 9/11 is really a good example of is how it used to be the case that we were divided then too, and the divisions were getting worse. But what united us was still more important than what divided us. And then, somewhere down the road that changed. Now it's clearly the other way around. It's what divides us is more important than what unites us. It's just a totally different country. And again, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just, how it goes. Me, if it happened again, like if there was a major terrorist attack in New York, um, well, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be happy about it. But I mean, I'm not going to be lie. A part of me probably would take some kind of satisfaction in it, but that's first of all, it's just a part. Second of all, that would be wrong of me, and but I mean, that's we're all fucked up, and we have those things in such a divided country. It's kind of inevitable unless you're like just super spiritually evolved. Um, but I think I would say that, like, I mean, obviously I would be worried that I would say like, well, I hope nobody I knew got hurt, and then I'd say like on a human level, I would feel bad about the loss of life. Um, you know, but as for like seeing the city of New York take a hit, or the state of DC, I mean the city of DC take a hit. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess I would be. I mean, again, without saying like, I'm not saying it would be worth it, or then and of course the loss of life would be tragic, but just to see those cities hurt, um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, however I'd feel about it, I mean, I wouldn't be jumping up and down in glee, but I can guarantee you this: I absolutely would not be sorry about it. However I'd feel, like I would think that, okay, well, those cities are evil places, and they're nerve centers for our enemies, and I don't have any connection to them whatsoever. They have none of those cities have anything to do with me. They're part of they're basically two cities of a hostile occupying foreign country, a foreign power. That's what I feel like. Like I'm living under foreign occupation, and that's just me. I think most Trump voters would feel the same way. Uh, but I mean, not something we would have ever thought about. Um, you know, not something that we would have ever thought about back then. The Back in 2001, and it's 21 years, and it's changed that much. I would say that already by, I don't know, man. I don't know. When did it change? Because you want to say that it changed just with Trump, that the change started with Trump. I mean, obviously, we'd been getting the polarization, got increasingly bad, with, or good, depending on your point of view, when Obama came in, and then it got even worse after Obama's reelection. And this isn't, again, this isn't Obama's fault. So then, a lot of people, like, especially people on the left, in that, I include the never Trumpers there, like to say, oh, well, it's because of Trump. It's the division is because of Trump. It's like, well, the polarization was already getting worse by the time you got to Trump. But even with Trump, I would say that it wasn't until well after Trump had taken office that the divide, like the left-right divide, had become as bad as it is now. And then I think that COVID and I mean, it was already pretty bad, and I was already pretty extreme by before even Charlottesville, I was pretty extreme. But like COVID, got me to a level of extremism that I thought I was as extreme as you could get. And COVID took me to another level, and I think it had that effect on a lot of people. And so I don't think it was like Trump was definitely a big part of it, of like, but I think all Trump really did was put the U.S. out of its misery, in terms of like, this failing marriage between red and blue America. And Trump really sharpened the distinctions and made it so, and that's really what Trump was about, was sharpening the distinctions. And once we saw the distinctions, we saw like, oh wait, we don't really have much in common, and our interests are mutually irreconcilable. Which isn't, this video isn't me predicting a civil war or anything like that. Again, I've talked about that before. It's possible, but I still don't think so. So yeah, it's just weird. I think, I don't know if I have any older viewers and they can like remember what things used to be like in this country. It's just so weird. It's just two different countries. And then for you younger guys, I wonder if you can even understand what I'm talking about. Like, because you have no point of reference. You don't remember America ever being, other than anything other than super divided. So, because I lived through it and I can't even really relate to it. So I can't even imagine what it must be like for you guys. And then for you guys in other countries, well, for you guys in other countries, I do kind of like wonder about like when people talk about Americans, they say like Americans this, Americans that. And I just want to think like, well, which Americans? Like, I mean, it's like, we're not really one country. So I don't like, so somebody says something like against Americans, like I didn't like, I can't even be insulted by that because I wouldn't know which American demographic you were talking about. Like they're so like like which American political tribe are you talking about? And then even in those tribes, you've got different types of subcultures and stuff. So it's not like in other countries, where it's just there's more national unity. Even like a country like Somalia, where like a guy might cut the throat of his brother-in-law to be for like being from the wrong tribe, or something like that. Even in a country like that, there's still an overarching sense of Somali identity that holds them all together. And I would say it's a place like India, you'd see the same thing. Like, yeah, India is so divided, it probably shouldn't even be one country. It should be multiple countries. But even in a place like India, there's at least some sense of like shared Indian identity. And here, like, we just don't have any of that. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next. Oops. No, now I will see you in the next.